You're listening to the Money Pig Podcast, brought to you by Goodwin Investment Advisory, where our mission is to lead people to financial peace, independence, and generosity. I'm your host, Reid Trego, and today we're joined on the show by an advisor here at Goodwin Investment Advisor, Ray Brown, for a discussion about paying off student loans, or maybe it's about student loans. Ray wants you to pay him off. Let's hear what he has to say. Ray, welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for having me, sir.
Yeah, man, it's always good to have you here. Usually for the fun conversations.
Yes, we keep it fun. No, none of this stuff about being a widow or being deceased or any,
how planning.
Yeah.
Sad things. And I feel bad, but that's all right. But yours today isn't that much fun. But it is a really, really popular question. It's frequently Googled. We thought we should answer it here. Because also, as a firm, we just put out recently a blog about this. You can actually get that if you text blog to 66866. You can do that from your phone. What text message charges apply or whatever, your local provider. Anyway, all right. So student loans, Ray, I want to talk to you about this because actually you have a successful story dealing with student loans. I was very fortunate. Came out of college, but it was a long time ago. Debt-free, student debt-free.
Yeah, hey.
You, however, got to, work and pay it off.
Yeah, I fall into that kind of quote normal bracket of, hey, college is getting expensive these days. It's out of control. And so I graduated college back in 2012. So it's been a minute now. It's been over 10 years, but gosh, it still feels like just yesterday. At heart, I still feel like I'm 17 years old, still in that race of, just kind of keeping, getting stuff done, tending to business, graduating, entering the world, and navigating career. So, sure, we know it all too well.
Yeah, you just made me think. You 10 years ago, that's a long time, but mine was 31 years ago.
Time flies. It moves quick. It moves quicker and quicker. And here we are. So.
Awesome. Okay. Well, tremendous. So, just give me your walk me through a little bit of your story, where you went to school, how this
so I went to a private, for those of you if we've not yet met, that, or you're learning for the first time now, that my traditional schooling is not in finance at all. So, right out of high school, I was very involved, very interested in the film industry. And so I pursued a career in the film and entertainment business, went to a small trade school that just, it's a bachelor's degree in film production, gets you in and out in about 2 years. So it's about double the pace of traditional college. I think it also kind of came with double the price tag.
Those small private specialized schools can.
Oh,
right?
yeah. That's kind of the perk, is that we get you in and out quick so you can enter the workforce, and we're going to work you like the industry is about to do to you. And so let's get it done. And I pursued that. It was amazing. Met some great people. I learned a lot. Had a very great 10-year career. So I put it to the test, put it to work. The degree paid for itself in time. I loved what I was doing for, 8.5 out of those 10 years. And towards the end there, I was like, okay, it's time for something different. And that's a story for later. Or, I feel like I've shared it a lot here about just career transition and how that can come to be. But either way, you go to school, you get student loans, you've got to pay them off. And so that was kind of my trajectory. As I did graduate back in 2012, I did have a massive student loan, and just kind of kicked butt to gear. Like, let's get going on this thing. I want to pay this off. And that's really when my interest in personal finance kind of started. It was that classic, like, oh crap, there's a problem. This is going to take 25 years, 30 years to pay off. This ain't going away quick. And it's that classic moment of just kind of, oh my gosh, I'm now an adult. What am I going to do? Oh, I've gotten myself into some trouble. And when you're a child and you just kind of sign on the line, the whole industry shoves these student loans at you, and you don't understand really, like, gosh, what is that? Is 8% interest rate? Is that good? Is that bad? Like, who cares? Sign it. Cool. You don't have no payments until 6 months after you graduate. You'll be working by then and it will mean nothing. And so, they pull you in. They pull you in good. And so they got me. They got my friends.
It's interesting to me that you, though, came out of school and somehow, I remember you're telling the story, like you got the letter in the mail and they're like, congratulations on graduating, and now your first payment's due. I
attribute that to a little bit of my why story in terms of like why I'm an advisor now. And I do distinctly remember that night where I was driving across the country, pulling the U-Haul trailer with my little Jeep. The cardboard boxes are all wet. It's disgusting. I'm stopped for gas, and I look down at my email and I get the email from the student loan company. The congratulations. And there was the little gif of the confetti popping off the top. Like, you've done it. But then right below that, you see what the balance is, and you see when payments begin, and you see about what that monthly payment's going to be. And you say, I'm unemployed, I don't yet have that first job. And so what, and how am I going to swing? If I even make this much at this new job, how am I going to live? Where's the rest of the money coming from? So,
yeah, you had a little bit of a mutant gene there, though, because a lot of new graduates just say, well, yeah, that's the deal. I'll just make the minimum payment forever.
Sure.
But you took the bull by the horns. This was a weird thing you did.
I'm a little bit of a psychopath. Yeah. Just kidding.
A little bit. Yes, you are.
I'm a little crazy person. And sure, I was very hyper-focused on the number. And that's when I kind of said, okay, I've got to seek out, what do you do? What do you do? It's so overwhelming. And so do you just, can you, do you kick back and do what the normal person does and just say, hey, I'm going to pay this off for 25, 30 years? Or do you just hustle, work, have no fun, and eat beans and rice and pay this thing off in 5 years? You name your own timeline. What do you do? Both of those are very extreme. And so do you meet in the middle? And then it's like, how much are you paying in interest over this time? And gosh, there's so many ways you can take it. So many things battling at your brain to figure it out.
Yep. And so the view on student loans kind of is that, well, you get out of school, everybody has them. I mean, college is expensive now, so everybody has them. You can't go to college without them. It's just a very, very normal thing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it is true.
What's your take on that?
I can't recall the exact statistic. I mean, it is almost 8 out of 10 graduates that, sure, even if you come into the picture with a little bit of cash savings, say you've worked in high school or you've gotten a few scholarships, 8 out of 10 kids are graduating with some amount of student debt, whether they borrowed just a little bit or they had to borrow the whole thing. Student debt is part of the picture for most graduates, as unfortunate as that is. So yeah, it's very true.
So what do you do if you graduated from high school, you want to go to extend your education somewhere, but you don't have the money saved up or can't afford that? What do you do? And
it's a great thing. I mean, the fact that we have colleges, we have this education, we live in America, you can, you've got this whole American dream. You can be anything you want to be. The skills, the knowledge is out there if you pursue it. And if you have that desire and goal to learn something new, you can easily do it. When it comes to the logistics of making it happen, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I had to do it myself, but it's what has forced me to adapt this mindset and these policies and these principles, if you will. And it's just that we are debt adverse. We don't want to borrow money. So if you're not going to borrow student loans, then what do? You kind of kick it into gear when you're in high school or right before college, and you say, I've got a new job. It's a 60-hour per week job. And that full-time job is to focus on scholarships, grants, anything I can do to save up to get, someone else. There's so many businesses, competitions. I mean, these days you can do these YouTube, TikTok competitions and challenges. There's ways to make $1,500, $3,000 here and there to just put towards the college experience and to make that happen. But it's not easy. And so I know we live in a culture where it's like, do I really want to do I want to bend over backwards and do all these things to jump through these hoops to get a little bit of my school paid for? I could easily just sign on the line, and to take out that loan. And so it's which one's going to feel more good in the moment versus which one's the smarter choice to make in the long run.
Yeah. And I always think there's so many students now in high school and they dual enroll, right? Enroll at the local technical college or even at a local 4-year university. And they're getting those classes basically free.
Yes.
And even if they haven't done that, those first couple of years at the technical school to get the basics out of the way.
Absolutely.
At least here in Georgia, I think those credits transfer really easily to
you do community college. You do. I mean, nothing's off the table. You do whatever it takes to avoid any student loan debt. I mean, and I think again, it has to be part of your principle. If you're still floating through life of you listen to what society says around, student loans, that's a good debt because I'm going to, that's going to help me enhance my career. Or, you fall victim to everyone's got it. It's normal to have it. I'm going to go get it. Then you have kind of ate away at your own internal principles. And so if you've really got to have this in your walk that I'm not borrowing money because, we always focus on the why. It's because when I graduate, I know that I'm going to be in an entry-level position. I want my income to support me starting a new family, doing X, Y, Z, buying a house. There's going to be so many other things that are thrown at you that you're going to want to pursue that's going to catch your eye. having that student loan debt really is just going to get right in the way. I mean,
Great.
You've got to see that future. You've got to have that maturity to see it that way.
Okay. So those are the extreme measures we would take to avoid it. But in the case someone decides that we got to take on some student debt, and this happens, we see this with professionals, lawyers and doctors, they end up doing this and ended up with a ton of student debt, right? I've heard a guideline on student debt that you shouldn't ever take out more than what you expect your first year's salary to be.
I've not heard that one. That's interesting.
It's pretty interesting though, because there's some degrees that you can come out of school not knowing that you're not going to make a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
And there are other degrees you're going to come out of school in mechanical engineering or something like that. You know that you're going to have a solid income and be able to pay that back in a really reasonable amount of time.
You also got to know yourself at the end of the day. I went to school with a ton of kids that just, they kind of painted this picture of, it's, oh my gosh, this is the dream. You're going to see your name in the credits of movies. You're going to make it. And it's like, you can look around and you can identify that these kids, this is like a summer camp. What are they thinking? Oh my gosh, this person's never going to, not to judge anyone else's picture to say like, certainly you're not better than anyone else, but you've got to know yourself. How hard do I get out there and hustle? How well am I going to be able to sell myself in the field? How confident am I in my abilities to promote myself and to get hired at the right place and to get that right salary? And are you just going to sit back and wait on a career development department to throw something in your lap? And then you're going to be picky and choosy what opportunities? It's like, if you've got that mindset, then you're going to have a lot harder time at this. If you're a hustler or a go-getter, it's like, all right, you've got the skill set. You know that you're going to be able to make money and that you're going to be able to pay this thing off quick. We just got to be careful with that, because then it's just like anything else when it comes to borrowing money. You're borrowing money for a car, Yep. Do you spring for one that's $15,000 more than what you initially thought you would spend? It's like, makes no difference. You just sign on the line, So it's a lot easier to spend more. Yeah.
Monthly payments. We always talk about. Okay. So let's talk about, we do have, let's say there is student debt. Where do we put that when we want to pay it off, right? We talk about the good life pyramid here. It's sort of a Maslow's hierarchy of needs for finances. And one of the baseline needs is getting rid of debt.
Yeah.
So where do we put that? Is it more like we think of home mortgage debt as kind of a good debt? We think of credit cards as a very bad debt.
Right.
Cars, it's a use asset, but really not great debt.
Yeah.
So where do we put student loans in there?
I say we put it right there in the middle.
Do we really?
Just amongst all the other stuff, all the other junk. I mean, at the end of the day, sure, we get it. Life throws things at you. You may be in a position now where it's like, okay, I've gotten myself into a situation. I now know better, but what do I do now? I'm in it. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. I wish if only I had rolled up my sleeves in high school, I could have probably gotten some more money towards this, but here I am. So what do I do? And I say that we just approach it like we would anything else. It's truly a debt snowball situation. We're going to roll up the sleeves. We're going to hustle and we're going to knock this thing out.
Explain how that debt snowball works.
Yeah, so the debt snowball is where you're listing all of your debts in order from smallest to the largest, just in terms of balance. So if you have $1,000 on a credit card, that goes at the top of the list. Next is your car loan, might be a little bigger. Next is your student loan, might be a little bit bigger for balance. And then you've got the $500,000 mortgage on the house. That's at the very bottom of the list because it's the biggest debt.
What about my boat debt? Is that in there
the boat's going to go in between the house and the car.
Okay,
gosh, some of these... and so you're just structuring them in order from smallest debt to largest debt. You're going to make minimum payments on everything except for the smallest debt. That one there, you want to throw everything you've got at it. We are trying to knock this thing out quick. And it's the smallest debt, so you can knock it out quicker than you would the other ones. The idea is that you're going to feel a sense of victory. You're going to get that emotional, that pleasure sensations activated in the brain that's like, wow, I can do this. I've crossed off, one of 3 things on the list. Then you roll on to the next one. That's why it's the snowball. It gets bigger as we roll. So you come up with this magic number of how much can I afford to pay every single month towards my debts. Maybe it's $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, whatever it is for you. That's money that's in your budget that you can afford to allocate towards the debt. And it means being a little bit uncomfortable. Obviously, if you're planning trips and vacations and eating out and doing all these things, well, of course, there's no money left to put towards your debt. But if you start with this purpose of, okay, I've gotten myself into a situation. I want to enjoy my life, and we so want you to enjoy your life. We get it. It's hard to delay pleasure. So let's get through this as quick as possible. Let's not make this thing take 20 years. Let's get this done in 2 years, 3 years, max. Let's go. Let's get some light at the end of the tunnel. Let's put things in an order and an operation and have a plan that makes sense so that we can hit it with everything we've got so we can blast through this thing, get on the other side of it.
That's amazing because there is so much less stress about not having any debt. Like no obligations.
Right.
From month to month. You start to think, my cost of living is really low.
Yes.
That's where you get. And then you're like, what's the pressure? Where's the pressure?
When you don't have all of your money going out the door to payments, it just truly gives you such freedom and flexibility to do whatever the heck you want. You know, if you contemplate a career change like I did, it's something that you say, okay, you're taking a step back, you're taking a jump into a whole different industry. Like there's financial consequences to that. And it's like having the freedom to be able to do it. If you're buried in payments and you've got every dollar you're making is going out the door, like you're slave to your job.
Mm-hmm,
you know?
You are. What do you think about some of these payment plan offers that come in? You know, income-based repayment.
Sure. So like if anyone's recently been student loans have been suspended through COVID times. Interest kind of began recurring on student loans last September. They did announce a couple new payment options: the flex payments, the income-based payments. I say I don't care about any of it.
Oh,
I'm not a big fan, and here's why. They would love it if you stretch this thing out for 30 years and could only pay 10% of your income. I think we like to reframe it in a sense that is, what's the quickest I can get rid of this thing? You want these people in your court that's going to motivate you to come up with and scrape up every extra dollar you've got to throw at this thing so you can get out faster. We're not trying to extend this at all. We don't care about your payment plans. We're going to tell you how much we're going to pay, and it's going to be probably 4 times as much as you want from us. We're going to get this done. We got to move on, and you got to get going. Come on. It's like, pick it up.
You know, what is so interesting about that is, and we know this because we see it. And in many cases we do this. We drink our own cooking or whatever they say, right? Or we drink our own cooking.
We eat our own cooking.
We brew our own food. I don't know what we do. but so much of this, it feels mathematical. We can stretch that payment out for 30 years and it'll be this much and yada, yada.
Right.
But we know the reason you're pushing the accelerate is because we know it's behavioral. This is about creating behaviors. If we can be intense about this behavior early on and get rid of this, it changes the way our relationship to and the way we think about money going forward.
I love it. It's not our forever story. This is a tiny little chapter in a book, and we got to get through it. We always talk about the why. At the end of the day, you've got to understand, like, why does any of this matter? Why do your investment returns matter? Why does it matter if you even go to college to begin with? It's so that your future is brighter than the present. We want to get to the other side. And sure, you're always on this journey of life. It's always that, classic contentment and, what's in the future and what's ahead. And you're always climbing. It's why do we try to get promotions within jobs? It's so that you can make more money, do more, X, Y, Z. We got to get on the other side of it. You cannot sit back and say, hey, you can't be a victim to a student loan payment for this long. I mean, the payments are so expensive. They're so high. It's going to steal your income forever if you let it. And so you've got to crank up the heat, knock it out as quick as possible.
Yeah. So, okay, great. And then as far as paying off debt and saving for retirement, let's say it is going to take a couple years, 3 years, 4 years. Do we want to delay investing and saving in a 401k while we're paying this off? I know some personalities would say yes. What's your take?
Sure. It's such a great question, and I totally get it. I know it is so tough to be focused on debt elimination while also thinking about your future. The whole fact that you're kicking into gear and working so hard to eliminate debt is because you want to be on the other side and you're dying to get to the other side. You're envisioning a future where you're not going to have this debt any longer. So in that same sense of you visualizing your future there, you're thinking, okay, well, my 401k is really going to suffer. I'm delaying contributions to retirement so that I can really hit this thing hard. And we know that you're going to get on the other side of it and that you're going to pick up the heat and you're going to, compile, contribute, get right back up. You're going to get all that momentum back once you're on the other side of it. It is hard in the moment, though, to say, I'm giving this debt everything I've got, because it feels like you're leaving opportunity on the table. And so we do get that. I think the one asterisk, if I could just make one change to my internal principles around hey, we pause all investing until debt is completely eliminated. I would say it's around the 401k space and an employer match. So if your employer is giving you a match on your 401k, say that, you contribute 4%, they match you 2%. I'm okay with someone taking, you're letting off the gas a little bit. Sure, it's going to mean that you get out of debt a little bit later than you would had you just said nothing to the 401k. But I also get that it hurts to leave free money on the table. And if your employer is willing to give you a match on your 401k contribution, I would say it's okay to go ahead and take that.
It feels like it's part of your compensation to me. I mean, because you consider, let's say, an employer who you contribute 3%, they contribute 3%. That is a 100% return on your initial investment right off the gates, right out of the gate. So, it feels like a part of the compensation. And I would agree with you on that.
We don't want to leave that on the table. No. So let's grab that. But then you also just got to, then what's next? A friend of mine suggested I, get into this company with him. I got to save up 10 grand. No. Like, got to keep our eye on our prize, get through one thing, clean it up, get going. Come on.
Yeah. Get familiar with our Good Life pyramid.
Get some cheerleaders in your court. Right. Yeah. Climb your way up the pyramid and focus on the why. It's so that, we're focused on the future. We're focused on a better tomorrow. So
that's great. That's good. All right. Well, good. And folks can reach out to us here. They can text blog to 66866. Get on our blog list. But also, we advise clients about this. We also have a few limited hours of just hourly financial coaching for people who want help getting their budget straightened out so that they can start to get these priorities knocked out and move on to the next goals in life and prepare for whatever it is, children and buying houses and upgrading life or moving on to retirement down the road.
There we go.
Hey, as financial advisors, we manage and balance portfolios, but the unique value is that we work to understand our clients' individual goals so we can have these types of planning conversations that are so personal and unique to each individual. Thanks for being here with us, Ray. And we will catch you all next time. Thanks.
The Money Pick podcast is hosted by Reid Trego, a financial advisor at Goodwin Investment Advisory. This podcast is intended to share information and perspectives, but should not be interpreted as legal, financial, or tax advice. The opinions shared by participants are not necessarily endorsed by the company. Goodwin Investment Advisory is regulated by the SEC, and the company operates in compliance with applicable securities laws and regulations.